So today we're going to take a look at what's going to happen if Poland tries to form an empire in the modern day. This video is going to be very unrealistic. All the events that are going to happen are purely fictional. But let's see. Poland is the 21st strongest country in the world. They have 216,000 active personnel and they're one of the strongest countries in Europe. First things first, we can see that they start to militarize their country again. Let's just say that they have had enough. All these guys were trying to kick their butt, but now it's over because Poland, they're going to go on the offensive mode. And to start things off, we can see that the Polish recruit troops from all over the country. They also import weapons and stuff. They're trying to work on their economy, but right now they're spending a lot of money into their military just because they want to get a good military right now. In my videos, major alliances like NATO, CSTO, the EU or the UN, they do not exist. If they would exist, they would not let these countries to expand. So yeah, with all of these preparations done, we can see that the Polish declare war on the first country that they're going to be invading. And by the way, real life relations are not taken into consideration in my videos just because I don't want that. But yeah, the first country that they're going to be declaring war on is Slovakia. So yeah, now let's see. We can see that the Polish troops have now arrived on the border with Slovakia. They start a push in from here. The Slovakians are unable to push these guys back and they really go all in. We can see that they push in from the eastern parts too, securing some of the regions here. The Slovakians also make their own offensive into Poland, trying to push them back. But the Polish, they keep sending more and more troops. Eventually, we can see that they surround the capital city. These troops are also pushed back, and after months of besieging, the capital city fell. With this, the morale amongst the Slovakians has been lost. The remaining country of Slovakia surrenders because they could not possibly win this war against Poland. In a peace negotiation, we can see that all of Slovakia got completely annexed by the Polish. Now, this was a decisive victory for Poland, but they're not going to be stopping here. Only sometime after the Slovakian invasion, we can see that the Polish now moved their troops up to the north and right next to the border with Lithuania. This could only mean one thing. We can see that they declare war on Lithuania now. Let's just say that we're gonna get a Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, but it's just gonna be Poland. And again, let's see. Now, because the Polish were prepared for this, the Lithuanians weren't, of course, prepared. We can see that the Polish now start to push in, and they push in with pretty much all of their troops. Lithuania too is not a weak country, but they're overwhelmed right now. The Polish, yeah, it takes them months to make all of this progress, but eventually they were able to cut off Lithuania into two parts. They also blockade the western part with their navy, which at some point crumbles, and now these whole armies start to push in, all combined. The Lithuanian government is falling now, but yeah, eventually, after all this chaos, the remaining country surrenders. Once again, Lithuania too got completely annexed by the Polish Empire. This is a serious threat to Russia because Kaliningrad is now completely surrounded by Poland, and Poland is also going on the offensive mode. Countries like Germany, Austria, and Hungary are also kind of worried right now because major alliances don't exist. There's no one to stop Poland right now. But yeah, with all of that said, the Polish had to use a lot of military equipment in these two wars. Now, they've lost a significant portion of it, but they're not going to be stopping once again as they recruit even more troops, improve their economy even more, or let's just pretend that they do, because their next invasion is going to be a major one. After years of preparations, we can see that they declare war on Belarus. Now, the problem with this was Belarus is a very close ally of Russia. Russia would never ever let anyone harm Belarus because, well, it's a buffer state between them and the West, also because they hold good relations. Yeah, as of right now, Poland has declared war on Belarus, and let's just see what happens here. We can see that the Polish troops now arrive on the border with Belarus, and they start a push in from the northern parts. We can see that they also make a push in from here, securing some of these regions, but not a lot. Eventually, the Belarusian army also arrives on the front lines. They start to push these guys back from the north, but over here, most of the Polish army is present, so they're not able to push these guys back. Eventually though, we can see that the Belarusians send most of their armies down here just to prevent this push, and they do so successfully, but this turns out to be a huge mistake as the Polish had a lot of troops up in the north, which the Belarusians did not see, and now they're pushing into an undefended territory. They go all in, but down here they do make their progress, which was of course possible because most of their armies were down here. But this army, they go all in, and eventually they get to the capital city of Minsk. The Belarusians once again send their armies back, and they arrive just in time to push these guys back a little to defend their capital city. Now, another huge unfortunate news for the Belarusians arrives, and it arrives from the southwestern borders with Poland, where they now know that the Polish have started to push in. At this point, it's a three-front war. These areas too are highly undefended, but the worst part is that these guys push in, and they were able to successfully encircle all of these troops. They eventually surrender, and now a combined army of Polish goes towards the capital city of Belarus. Minsk eventually fell, and yeah, these parts surrender. But with all of this progress made, the Polish, they get an ultimatum from Russia. The ultimatum basically says that if they don't stop this war, Russians are going to invade Poland. The Polish had to accept this ultimatum because who wants a war with Russia? But we're gonna see a peace negotiation being drawn down here. So let's see. In a peace negotiation, we can see that all of the western parts of Belarus were completely annexed. The remaining country is released, but it's a buffer state between Poland and Russia. Poland is getting stronger and stronger, so Russia did not want a huge border with Poland right here. Kaliningrad is just enough. So yeah, this again was a costly war, has affected Poland's economy. After all this time, the Polish are gonna go diplomatic mode. They're gonna try to make better relations with stronger countries for their own advantage, of course. We can see that they start doing this by having good relations with Hungary, ensuring them that the Polish would not invade them in the future. They also hold good relations with the Austrians now. But yeah, that's about it for now. The Polish are of course not going to stop their expansion journey here, as once again, after a few years of recovery from the last war, they now lay their eyes on Latvia, which they want to invade right now and want to take out. They want all of this territory. A few years later, they declare war, and things are not looking good for Latvia because Poland at this point is probably the 10th strongest country in the world. From all of the military equipment they got from these countries, we can see that the Polish armies have arrived on the border. They storm into Latvia. Right away, they capture the capital city. They pretty much take control of the entire western regions, are now part of Poland. They continue their push into Latvia until the government cripples and the remaining parts of the country surrender, which once again gives them a lot of territory up in the north. But because of this, they now have a border with Russia. They started to have good relations with France later on. The Polish at this point are just gonna stop. They're probably gonna focus on recovering from all these wars because they were costly and they need to recover. But they are gonna be planning a huge coalition for the future, and this might include major countries. A few years go by, they are well prepared for a coalition. This is a coalition that they're going to be forming against one country. If you haven't guessed it already, that country is going to be Germany. The Polish start off by declaring war on Germany themselves. Here comes the twist. They had good relations with France, so they were able to drag them in. They had good relations with the Austrians. Yeah, I colored them wrong, my bad. Things are not looking good for the Germans, as now they're going to be fighting a three-front war. If only there was a guy who could stop this. I guess he's long dead. Or maybe not. We can see that the coalition forces already had their armies on the border with Germany. The Germans, however, were caught unprepared. But even with this, we can see that they were able to hold off the Austrians. However, when it comes to the French, we can see that they were not able to do so, as now the French started to push into Germany. This is some tiny gains for now. And here comes the Polish, who have dreamt of this moment ever since World War II. Maybe not, but who knows. They start off by pushing in from the southern regions. Of course, these northern parts are highly defended. They make some significant progress down here, but the Germans are able to hold them off from here. Eventually, the French make a little too much progress down here. Because of this, the Germans panic, and they at this point have mobilized their entire armies. But yeah, these guys are not going slow. Wait a second. The Austrians, after multiple attempts, now successfully break the stalemate, pushing a little bit into Germany. Not too much though, but the French continue their push in. They're taking revenge of what happened some 80 years ago. Yeah, they were able to cut off the Germans into two parts. The Polish also meet up with the French. The southern parts are now cut off from the northern parts, where they're pretty much getting slaughtered every day because they got cut off. Eventually, after a lot of destruction, these parts surrender, and now a combined French and Polish army pushes up. Their main goal is to capture the capital city, which they do so successfully, and they start to go up. The German mobilized armies were in the north. They do make some efforts pushing these guys back, and they recapture Berlin. More and more French and Polish armies arrive on the front lines. They once again push up, and here is the second battle of Berlin. We can see that the Germans are inside the city, and this is going to be their last stand against these guys. The Polish and the French have now arrived, and the Germans slowly start to get out of the city, and they make some formations, and they're going to have their final battle against these guys. And now for that, they're pretty much prepared for a last stand against these guys, which they do. We can see that both armies are now facing each other, and the second battle of Berlin begins. Both armies now run towards each other, and there is a huge fight going on. After a few days, the fight continues, but the Germans are overwhelmed by the French and the Polish numbers, eventually losing most of their army and their resources. Troops now run back towards the city. They make it, but the Polish and the French, they chased these guys. Inside the city, pretty much all of these soldiers were slaughtered, and the Battle of Berlin ends in a decisive French and Polish victory. With the capture of Berlin and with the death of most of the German army, the remaining country of Germany surrenders, and this is gonna be the last peace negotiation of this video. And yeah, in a peace negotiation, we can see that Germany got split into all of these parts. This is the remaining German country, which barely even exists. And yeah, this is the Polish Empire at its peak. I know, guys, it has been such a long time since I've uploaded, but we are back on track. This is gonna be it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and tell me what you guys want to see in the future. And thank you for watching.